Since weather is kind of on all of our minds, it'd be a good time to talk about exemptions. Hey there, welcome to Safety Update with Sam. I, of course, am Sam. You are not. That's the way we like it. Unless you want to switch places sometime. Maybe it can be kind of fun. Maybe like, do an undercover boss type thing, even though I'm not, really the boss, but, undercover, I'd go drive a truck. You guys could come in and do safety. Let's think about it. It might be kind of fun. Or not. Maybe we'll just stick with what we're doing. Anyways, hey, so weather. Let's talk about weather. As you know, we have had Hurricane Helene just wreak havoc through the south part of the United States. And, there's a lot of devastation. It's really a bad thing. And I feel bad for the people that are down there. They're still working around the clock to get, things cleaned up, even get supplies to people. It really did some destruction down there. And we had a couple drivers that were actually somewhat close to that and kind of went through some of that. And I'm thankful you guys are okay. And, we have some guys that are going kind of into that area, so please be careful. Now, here's the deal. Like, as we know, part of Interstate 40 got washed out around the Knoxville area, but there are also other areas that are flooded still that are still need to be cleaned up. So if you are headed down that way, make sure that you are planning your trip pretty well. You might have to call up or look up 511 in the state you're going through to make sure that the roads are open. I know there's some truck routes that are now shut down, so you have to kind of go around. But please make sure that if you are going into those areas that you are looking to make sure that the route you want to take is open and safe to go across. So, but anyways, so here's the deal. When we have weather like this, there is an exemption that we can use in our ELD. Now, I will say that Hurricane Helene actually might not qualify for this exemption, and you'll see what I mean here in a minute. But there is an adverse weather driving exemption. And what that essentially does is it gives you 2 extra hours of drive time to get to a safe haven when you encounter weather that was unexpected. And the reason I say Helene might not actually qualify for this is because we kind of knew it was coming. Like there was some reports that there was a hurricane headed our way. But with winter coming up pretty soon, I know that's crazy to say, but winter is coming, especially if you're running through Colorado. Make sure you got chains, okay? Those chain laws are in effect. With winter coming, bad weather is going to start coming in. And this weather exemption can be a very valuable tool in your tool belt that you can use to maximize your efficiency out there on the road. So how it works is, and I'll put a link below in the description of for how to access it in Motive, because it's kind of hidden, which I'm not exactly sure why they did it, but it's not hard. Once you figure out where it's at, you got it. But it's kind of hidden, which again. Anyways, but what it does, the adverse driving weather exemption, is if you get caught in a snowstorm or a bad rainstorm or even a windstorm, or some sort of natural disaster like mudslides or rock slides or something like that that causes you to have to slow down and you didn't see it coming. That's kind of the big key that a lot of FMCSA DOT guys will look for, is that if you're driving into a named blizzard, Blizzard Bobby, you're not going to be able to qualify for this exemption because you knew where you're going. But if you're driving through a state or whatever and it starts snowing or just starts downpouring and you have to slow up, that is when this exemption can come into play. And like I said, what it does is it gives you 2 extra hours of drive time. So if you have to slow down, you can click on the exemption and you got 2 extra hours to get to a safe haven or get through the weather. Now, here's the tricky part. This exemption does not give you just 2 free hours of drive time, okay? You can't just use it to get 2 extra hours where you're going. If you're driving through a blizzard or a bad snowstorm or wind or rain or whatever, and you put this exemption on, once you get out of that weather, if it only takes you 45 minutes or an hour to get through it, you got to take yourself off that exemption, okay? If you are on that exemption and it's a blue sky or no weather and DOT pulls you over and they see your logs and they see that you're on the exemption, you will get picked up for a falsification of logs violation, okay? And that is something we don't need right now. Silver Arrow, Meiborg, we have the CSA deal. There's the basic categories. One of those categories is the hours of service, okay? We are over the threshold in both companies, okay? Now the threshold is 65%, meaning that 65% of companies are doing better than us in this category. And Meiborg is at 65%, so we're at the threshold. And Silver Arrow is either at 66 or 67%. I can't remember exactly, but we're right there. Both of them are right there. So what that means is that we can't mess around with the e-logs, okay? We can't go into violations. We shouldn't be anyways. But right now, we really need to be careful with how we are planning our day and what we are using as far as like exemptions and all that kind of stuff. How we're using PC, how we're using yard moves, all that kind of stuff. We really have to be careful in order not to get violations, because the only way to get us back below the threshold is to pass roadside inspections, okay? This isn't news, but we are over the threshold, or we're right at the threshold. And so we need to get that down, okay? So I'm asking you guys to make sure that your e-logs are good, okay? Make sure that there are no violations. Again, there shouldn't be any violations. But right now we need to be extremely careful with our e-log system. And that goes with the exemptions. This adverse weather exemption is a great thing to have. Use it correctly, okay? It's just like personal conveyance. It's a great thing to have. Use it correctly. Okay, and if you have any questions on how to do it, please get a hold of me. This is what I'm here for, is to help you guys succeed out there and to help you guys understand how to run your logs, why to run your logs, all that kind of stuff. But like I said, we need to make sure, right now especially, that we have all of our T's crossed and our lowercase j's dotted, okay? And if you get that movie reference, that is awesome, okay? If you don't, watch Wayne's World 2. Cool. All right. So now that we've talked about weather and we've talked about the weather driving exemption, again, if you have questions about that, please let me know, because it's a great thing to have. 2 extra hours of drive time if you need it, if you're stuck in the weather. Use it, okay, if you need to. But let's now take a look at some dash cam video of some weather. Okay, so this actually just happened last Friday. Typically, I like to have these safety updates done a little before the weekend, but sometimes some good video comes in. It's a great learning piece, and this one just happened to come in on Friday. One of our drivers out there experienced was in one of the Carolinas. That's where they're at right now. I can't remember if it's north or south, but regardless, both of them got hit pretty good. And you'll see in this video, there's the driver did something good and the driver kind of missed something as well. So this is a good one to look at, and just so you know like what to do in certain situations like this. So here we go. Let's take a look at the video real quick, and then we'll watch it again. So we're driving along. We're coming up to an intersection, and there are power lines laying right in the middle of the road. Not a good scenario, okay? That's one that'll make you perk up a little bit and go, whoa, okay? That's exactly what I said when I watched the video. It's like, what would he be doing? Oh, power lines. Yes, good call not running them over. Anyways, so first the good. Good job to the driver for not running over the power lines, because that could have been an absolute mess if he were to go and keep going over the power lines. He would have been safe, per se, with the rubber tires and all that kind of stuff, but oh my goodness, he would have ripped a lot of stuff down in the process, okay? Probably a lot of sparks, maybe some explosions. It would look like a Michael Bay movie out there, okay? So good job to the driver for recognizing that something wasn't right and hit the brakes, in time to stop. That's kind of the nice thing with having those disc brakes on the trailers, huh? So now, the bad. The thing that we need to talk about here and do a little correcting. Coming up to the intersection here, we can see that there are no lights in this intersection. Now that should trip something to you going, hey, what's going on here? Why are there no lights? Why does this situation seem weird? So here's the deal, okay? I'm sure a lot of you know this and might know where I'm going with this, but if you're coming up to an intersection that has no lights on, that needs to be treated like a four-way stop, okay? Maybe the driver was scanning back and forth and didn't see anybody, so he kept going on through, but you got to be more cautious with that when you come to an intersection like this. If they're blinking or if they're blinking red or if there's no lights up there. But obviously this is an established intersection. It's not like a brand new one that they haven't wired up yet. You know what I'm talking about. So this is an established intersection. You need to come to a stop, okay? That's how you treat these things. And unfortunately, the driver did not come to a stop, but fortunately, he saw that there were wires there and did not cause further damage. However, when you're coming to a four-way or a intersection like this with the lights are out, stop, okay? Just take that second, stop, look left and right, make sure other traffic, now luckily nothing was coming, but make sure other traffic is treating it that way because as you guys have seen, cars have no idea how to drive anymore. So it's up to you guys, unfortunately, to be, the more educated driver out on the road and come to a stop, okay? Coming up to an intersection, go, wait a minute, there's no lights on here. I need to stop and make sure that nothing is going to happen. And like I said, fortunately, no cars are coming. And fortunately, we got stopped in time to avoid the power wires. So anyways, like I said, I'm sure you guys know that. I just like to have these so it can remind you that, these scenarios happen. That's why I don't show the big crash and damage and all that stuff you see on YouTube. I like to show stuff from what our drivers see out on the road. This is real. This is what you could very well experience yourself. So that's it. If you come up to an intersection with no lights, anything like that, come to a stop. Just for my sake and your sake and DOT sake. They like to see you guys be safe out there. So do that. That would be fantastic. Okay. But again, good job to this driver for avoiding the power lines. Next time, come to a stop. Cool. All right. Questions, comments, concerns, you know how to get a hold of me. My information is at the bottom. If you didn't know, that phone number at the bottom there, I can also receive texts to that too. So if you just want to text that number, cool, man. Like I get texts, I receive texts. Sometimes it's easier to respond to texts depending on what's going on in the day. Sometimes I'm out of my office doing something and I get a text on my phone, boom, boom, right back to you. So anyways, but until then, because of stuff like this and because weather and snow and all that's coming, and because I truly mean it, guys and girls, make sure that when you're out there that you drive safe.